Shop Dog says it's time to get in the shop, get a little work done. Alright, we need to know what length push rods we need. It's also obviously pretty stinking nice out. So, Shop Dog says, let's get in here, let's get everything on, get set up. We'll do some measuring, and I'll turn the camera on once in a while. But I'm not going to let it run because I keep getting copyright strikes and I'm not happy about it. So apparently I can't have any music playing anywhere anytime I'm shooting video. So we'll deal with that. Getting this ready. Okay, I dug out my checker springs. Gonna have to have an air compressor adapter. I've got my checker push rods. And, of course, my valve spring compressor, which is going to be a chore because these are some serious springs. So, the way this works is I can do one of two things. I can either take the lifter apart, take everything out, stack some washers in there, and just turn it into a solid lifter at full height. Or I can put a very light spring here, which is what checker springs are, and then run my testing here. What we want to get is the point where this roller here contacts across, because it will wipe a little bit. You want it to be as centered on the valve stem as possible. You don't want the valve being pushed to the side any. You know, you want that as close as possible. And the way on small block and big block Chevys that you do that is with push rod length. There are other engines where it's completely adjustable on the rocker. There are some engines where it's not adjustable in any way, and you got to change pedestal heights. But the way you do it in small block and big block Chevys is in push rod lengths, and they're available usually in 50 mil increments. So like this happens to be a 7906 Magnum rod, and I was kind of hoping it would be labeled, so I would have to look it up to find out what, or 7609, to figure out what length that is. But you can see it's in the ballpark. I think for our current build with the small base circle cam, these are going to be too short. I'm almost certain of it, but I still kept them in order just in case we get lucky. Because, you know, sometimes you get lucky. So I'm going to go ahead and start getting this set up. And then you need a little bit of oil in the cylinder to keep the air in. But I'm going to get this set up, and I will bring you back when everything is ready to go. Because I am trying to still listen to music while I'm working. Alright, I'm going to explain what just happened in chipmunk mode. I was testing push rod length. The stock length, or well, not stock, but the length of push rod we have now is, for the previous combination, previous cam, previous deck height, everything, too short. It looks like it's probably 100 mils too short. You saw in chipmunk mode, I went over and over and over until I was happy with the length on one, and then verified that because not every intake exhaust setup is going to be the exact same push rod. Looks like I'm going to be happy with those. I don't know how well this is going to show up on the camera, but there are witness marks from the roller. And they're pretty centered, and I'm pretty happy with them. So I have to get longer push rods. I'll get that out in a little bit and measure it. But that's why I have a wider range of pushrod checkers, because this really is the best way to find out. You don't want to just order a bunch and hope. And you never, ever, ever want to just guess. You know, a head manufacturer will sell you some heads and say, yeah, it works with stock pushrod. Well, you don't know that. There's no way for you to know that. You should always measure this. Pushrods can literally show up overnight if you need them that fast. They're $100, you know, for the magnums. It's hard to beat that. So at this point, now I'll take this out. I'll measure its actual length and then go see what's available within 50 mils. Because I do believe that on standard lengths, they stock them every 50 mils, which is 50 thousandths of an inch, because a mil is 1,000th of an inch. We will go from there, and that is how we're going to be able to put the top end and finish our long block. We really, particularly for higher RPM use and for what we're doing, and with as crazy as these cams are, we really don't want the rocker riding one side of the valve, pushing on the side of the valve. We want these as perfect as we can get them. It doesn't cost us any more, just a little time. That's it. So I'll get that measured, and maybe we'll discuss that in a minute. Well, that was not a bad guess. These are 100 mil longer. Well, they're 101 mil longer. You know, on the checker, that's as close as we can get. So if I look up some 7.4s, because the ones we had before are 7.3s, using the exact same series, the same everything, the part number we need is 7638 instead of this 7609, which is what we already had right there. So this 7.3 chromoly push rod, they will all go in a bin, get labeled, and maybe line up for a future project. But we will get push rods on order. They'll be here this week. Don't need to even overnight them. They'll be here quick enough. So I think one of the next things I want to do is get the lifters cleaned up and setting them. I'm one of the people who believes that they should soak in oil for a while. I know not everybody believes that, but I will soak them in oil and we will go from there. Okay. He cleaned that up pretty good, so now I've got some high temp primer on her, and we'll get some high temp paint on her. And yeah, he decided he wanted it black, so whatever, it's his car. We'll do that. You know, we're out of the good stuff, so I got to buy some more. Let's see, I did clean up this thermostat housing, and it actually cleaned up pretty good, but then I did put some cast aluminum paint on it to really sell it, because I really like to use factory thermostat housings whenever I can. They just seem to be better made. They're thicker, they don't tend to leak. The aftermarket ones, you just get a lot of leaks. Sometimes you have no choice, sometimes you need an angle or you need it to be able to move, but you always kind of fight it. So that's where we're at right now. I got to kind of clean up. We dinged it a little bit, so I'll probably tape off and do that. I think he's planning on painting the head, so, you know, he can take care of that next chance he gets. I think when we do that, we definitely have a lot of taping to do. Let's see what else we got going on. Like I said, cleaning that up, and then I think I will grab the alternator parts and go ahead and get this put back together. You know, you just gotta get a paper clip. I'll get the springs and pop them in, slide the brushes in, slide the armature in, and pop her down. It's not that big a deal, but it did make the paint come out much nicer. So that's where I'm at right now. Here's everything I took off of there. Obviously, we're just going to replace that. I don't reuse thermostats. They're $3, and it's not worth reusing them. ShopDog's board. But I got the alternator back together, and it just dawned on me I didn't show anybody what it looks like. So, there you go. That's the new pulleys. So he did a pretty good job matching the color. And then I went ahead and clocked it down, because that's going to help me hide the wiring a little bit. So I'm pretty happy with that. So at this point, go do a little painting, because that primer should be cured. And we will continue. Okay, ShopDog and I made a big mess. We used our 3/8 MPT tap, because we remembered that we were going to need another point. So we need the coolant temperature sensor for the EFI, but we also need the one for the Dakota. I don't really like feeding them off the head. I mean, we can work with that. It's you know, you can tune around that. But my favorite place to measure small block Chevys is right here at the thermostat. So we were already going to use that port for one of them. So we went ahead and made another port real quick. I'll clean it all out before it goes into service. Don't worry about all that. But there, that will give us both sensors in the spot I prefer them. That's going to work out pretty nice. I think we will put the Dakota up here and the MSD Atomic right off the front. I think that'll work out pretty nice. So now we've got a 1/2" MPT and a 3/8 MPT available. And honestly, if I was ever unhappy with that, I have a 1/2" MPT as well, and we can always get bushings. But that looks pretty good. This is going to close today's Bent69 video. We're planning to go fishing. We're running out of time. It suddenly got warm. It was 30 below a couple weeks ago, and it's been in the 30s and even into the 40s a little bit. We're going to see some 50s in the next week, so shorelines are going to get terrible. So I'm going to clean up a little bit, put a few things away, and ShopDog and I are done for the day.